Good evening, Gardenia! Just because we haven't started the show like that for a while. Very excited about the theme for tonight's episode, Leaving Babylon. And I love that Joey, G.I. Mary Jane, here, our co-host tonight, has given me this language. And the word Babylon doesn't really mean much to me. I kind of want to look it up right now and be like, shit, I didn't really prepare for this opening monologue tonight. Maybe Joey and Ed and Jim and I are going to get into it. But the way Joey and I, and as you've noticed on the show, we have been using the term Babylon is a reference to shit. Now I can't even define it. What is Babylon, Joey?
It's society. It's this fairy tale thing we've propped up. Got to go to work. Got to pay the bills. Got to pay the rent. Make sure that you stay out of trouble. Don't break the law. Stick within your moral lines and stay in our box. Be a robot.
So that's very good descriptive of use of our use of this term. I want to home in here on a definition, though. When we say Babylon, for the sake of our audience, we should describe all this. We're going to get into these dynamics of how we are identifying this. But Babylon is the city, and we use that to describe not just society, because we're part of society, but the corrupt, entrenched, authoritarian, institutional element of society that we say is crumbling right now, right? And even that is, I don't have, I wish I could say Adam defined, when Adam says Babylon, he means boom. But it's kind of a nebulous definition even for me and my usage, right? Ed smiles because it's fun. Now you're like, Ed wants to rant about Babylon because we've given it this name that we can identify, and it's the target, and you can say, fuck Babylon, leave Babylon, escape Babylon, transcend Babylon. We don't need Babylon. So it's kind of important, if we're going to speak this passionately about it, that we can at least define it, right? Or at least pretend to define it. Like, what is Babylon? It is a metaphorical use of a city name to describe what I consider, and we who use the term this way, what we consider to be the corruption of institutional society that happens to be most embodied in American culture by what happens in cities, obviously. So it works nice that way. And it's kind of nice actually as a physical metaphor as well, right? Because Joey and I, living off grid, we think about going into town for supplies, and we go to Ash Fork, and Ash Fork here in northern Arizona, an hour west of Flagstaff, is an awesome off-grid community that's not even a city. Like, that's part of what's awesome about it. It's not a city. The closest we have to a city government for Ash Fork, Arizona, is an historical society, a volunteer fire department, a museum, and a library. There's no government. It's unincorporated county land, and that does make obviously we still have to deal with county government and state and federal, but there's no city here. So at least that part we've kind of escaped. But when we go into Ash Fork, where do we get gas? Shell station or a mobile station. If we need, basic food supplies or household goods, where do we go? Family Dollar, right? That's some Babylonian shit right there. So Babylon, the metaphor, like we go touch Babylon, and we've accepted as a compromise in our lives that we're not going to be monks on a mountaintop eating twigs and berries and wiping our butts with leaves. Like, we are going to engage with society in a way that is beneficial to us, to live more powerfully by our values, not with some ideal of perfection. We talked about solar panels, right? Wood burning stove for heat. I got that wood burning stove from fucking Home Depot. I'm not pretend, but now I don't have to buy propane from Babylon every winter in a way that would cost me more than the cost of that wood stove, right? Solar power. Guess every day here in Gardenia, we turn sunlight into refrigeration and light and powering our electronics. We turn it into entertainment and information and this communication capacity. But where did we get those solar panels? Babylon. Where did I get this laptop and this phone? Babylon.
Where'd Home Depot get the stove?
A foundry, probably in China. China. Yeah, they went to China. Where did Home Depot get the stove? I'm pretty sure it was made in China. Yeah. Well, a different. I mean, sector of Babylon. We can pick apart the language now. I'll see all sorts of fun with this analogy, metaphor, whatever. Geographic transposition of abstract concepts into an emblematic symbol of our disdain for all that is wrong with the mainstream of society and government and corporatism and the thoughtless masses taking their jabs, paying their taxes, working for the man 9 to 5. And it's gross. Like, I've lived in cities. I lived in Washington, D.C., a pretty big city, right? I lived in Herndon, Virginia, pretty big D.C. suburb.
Northern Virginia's hard.
I lived in Los Angeles, technically, although it wasn't downtown. I lived like the western edge of Los Angeles next to Santa Monica. LaGrange, if you want to look it up. But still, like, that's Babylon shit. You're living on grid. You're no, that's not my values. And so I would invite my audience tonight to join us in this conversation about leaving Babylon and not contributing to that. And we've talked about this in terms of living by our values as libertarians. I want to share it through the lens of this concept of Babylon because it's been very meaningful to me lately. It's been very powerful in motivating and inspiring me to live a better life. I will say part of it is just, I've been better organized lately. I've got the app with the to-do lists. Yeah, fabulous. Check it out. But you get it. I'm not selling an app here. That's not my thing. But I am selling always living well, living better, living more conscientiously. And it's sort of like now that I've got my daily routine organized, now that I'm not going, oh shit, how do I get disciplined enough to just eat one vegan meal a day and have an awesome salad? Like I'm like, how do I do that as ethically as possible? How do I do that the best way possible? How do I level up that game? So the salad I just ate tonight, Ed, was veggies chopped up from the food bank.
Woo!
And so I get some Babylon stuff that I'm not ready to make here myself yet, added in that I bought, like fried onions. We got avocados, things that but I put it all together myself. I'm not buying chopped salad kits anymore. And that's such a small thing, but you know what? It's a better salad. Yeah, Ed's like, fuck, how long is he going to talk about salads tonight? Right? No, but like the salad thing, it's a big deal to me because I am pretty close to one vegan meal a day of one big salad. What's that?
Pretty close to a rabbit.
Yeah, pretty close. Oh yeah, rabbit arms, Ed. This is how you build big arms, man. You want to. That's a very strong rabbit. Okay. Yeah, you give me that. But no, there's. And by the way, I like when I say vegan. Just real quick clarification on that. For me, I don't pretend that I don't consume any animal products. To me, it's an ethical extension of the non-aggression principle to animals as most practically possible. I'll eat leftover meat. I think it's worse to let it go to waste than to make it in the first place. And I'm not really that strict about it, but there is one absolute strict line. I will never buy or order meat for myself. And I that's been easy. And as a result, my diet, like I eat Joey's leftovers. I get a little bit of meat in my diet. So I'm not here to pretend like, oh yeah, I'm a perfect vegan and that's why I was built this body. Like, no, I take a bunch of supplements and shit. But yeah, I'm like 97% plant-based and maybe 2% dairy, 1% meat in my calorie consumption, and pretty consistent in that for the last 4 or 5 months. I feel great. And so it's like when people are taken care of and when you take care of yourself, it empowers you to think more outside yourself. And so not just leveling up like my personal habits, my self-care, my organization, but my conscious consumerism. And it's so huge. And I feel like as a homesteader, with what I am doing as an entrepreneur, being off grid, that not paying taxes through a W-2 at least, right? Of course, when I use the dollar, I pay the inflation tax, especially right now. And this is actually another level of mine in terms of really carefully reconsidering my habits to be more conscientious of how I use money in terms of what is that money itself. And I've always thought of like, don't hold cash, don't hold US dollars, but that just makes me want to spend money on like wood stoves and stuff. I should be, but I'm leveling up my consciousness. I'm leveling up my lifestyle. And I'd like to share specifically tonight the dynamic of that is conscious consumers. And we could talk about health and diet and fitness and escaping modern medicine, especially right now. We could talk about your employment and being an entrepreneur, working under the table, working off grid, anything to minimize your tax liability in your employment, and who you have. That's an intimate fucking relationship. You and your employer, you're working a 9 to 5. If you make that commitment to a person or an institution outside of yourself, most people who work a 9 to 5 spend more time at work than with their family and less time considering what is a thoughtful, principled way to engage with the world, with the economy, with your labor, your time and your love and your energy and all of that. But tonight, I really want to focus on with your money and your consumer decisions. And we have a really fun video this week. All right, that's the end of my opening rant. So transition to talk about the show announcements. We've got a really fun video to do a breakdown for this week. Before I say anything about that, another video I posted this week, yesterday, right, on Odyssey, odyssey.com/@AdamKokesh, was my message to Notre Dame after that speaking event fell through, which was supposed to be tonight. That's giving a thumbs up. It was a good video. I don't want to get too sidetracked with that, but I do want to promote it and mention it. If you need more content after the show, it's about 10 minutes. It's pretty fun and poignant, especially if you know someone at Notre Dame and can share it and help it get out into the student body there. I make dumb football jokes. How many Notre Dame football players does it take to screw in a light bulb? Don't worry. I'm not going to say they're dumb. I mean, not. It takes 3, but more importantly, they get 4 hours of credit for it. So with that, check it out. That's why I'm not in Notre Dame tonight. We're here in Gardenia and getting to talk about all of this. But the video that we're going to play in a few minutes when we get through producer notes and introductions with our wonderful ombudsman, Ed Vallejo, and Joey Lee, co-host in studio here, and producer Jim, we're going to do a little video breakdown of 4 cops in Las Vegas showing up to interrupt my workout at the gym at the Anytime Fitness over me not wearing shoes. But before that, we are going to get through our introductions and smoke weed every day. So first, ladies and gentlemen, producer Jim Freedom.